Okay. I'm Lindsey Richter, and I'm the owner, the founder, and the director of inspiration for Ladies AllRide mountain bike skills camps. And yeah, I run around the country and inspire women with mountain bikes.
And when does your company start and like how did you get the inspiration for this company?
Well, I started Ladies AllRide just kind of as a movement to get more people who identify as women interested in mountain biking in about 2010. So, man, about 13 years ago. And my motivation for
Yeah.
it, my story with mountain biking, I was an athlete in high school, and it's kind of how I identified myself as an athlete. It's where I found my people in high school. And then I went to college, and that all changed. I was not an athlete in college. I joined a sorority, and then I got kicked out of the sorority, which was kind of a big fat, you don't fit in here. I didn't feel like I fit in from the beginning. So I just kind of blew through college, studying and doing well, and just kind of wanting to get out of there because I just didn't feel like I fit in. And then I went right into the working world in my 20s and got a great job in advertising and PR and kind of thought I had it made. I had my dream job at like 24 years old. But I still felt like something was missing. And it was a sport. And so I played like the advertising softball league and the advertising bowling league. And then I would go to spin class at lunch to get in shape again. But there was something about staring at myself in the mirror when I didn't feel my best that didn't feel right. And I think I just saw a picture of mountain biking in a magazine at that point. This was in the early 90s. And I thought, that looks fun. Maybe I'll try mountain bike racing. So I went and bought a hardtail mountain bike and just set out to race mountain bikes, really as a way to get my fitness back. And I had no idea the ride that was going to take me on, literally. I started finding myself again. You know, not only did I find my fitness in a really fun way, I started feeling like I fit in to the community of mountain bikers. And then I got laid off from my advertising job. This was in early 2000s, like 2001, because we lost all of our .com clients because the internet was new back then. And those were all of our clients. And then all these .coms crashed and
Hmm.
we lost all our clients. So I got laid off and thought, well, what am I going to do now? And I ended up applying for and getting on the TV show Survivor when it first came out. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I went on this TV show, and afterwards, and I was a mountain biker at the time, and I used mountain biking as my tool for my video to get on Survivor. But then when I got off the show, there was quite the backlash. I felt embarrassed, humiliated. I was publicly humiliated. And I already had a history of depression and dealing with some mental health stuff. So I hit kind of an all-time low. I had moved to LA. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. I moved to LA to pursue, I don't even know what. And it was miserable. But the one thing that kept me going was my bike. I kept racing my bike wherever I could find races. And after a decade of racing my bike and traveling the country for mountain biking, I managed to get a job in the industry. Looked around one day and was like, 10 years into this, and I am still struggling to find women interested in the sport in the way that I am. And so I got certified to coach mountain biking in 2010. And that's when I realized the reason more women aren't involved with this sport is because they don't know how to do it. And there's a method to the madness and how mountain biking relates to life. It really helped me learn how to face fears and believe in myself and realize what I was capable of. And all of the advertisements and the promotion behind mountain biking at the time was very focused on men jumping huge jumps and doing tricks and riding gnarly, crazy lines. And I would look at these magazines and think, this isn't going to make women feel like they want to mountain bike. And so that's when Ladies AllRide was
Hmm.
born, because I thought, if I speak for mountain biking to women on behalf of mountain biking and express the emotional side of mountain biking, that it is challenging, it is scary, there are things about it that are intimidating, and that's why you should do it. It's good for you. I thought maybe I could attract more women if I was just honest about the reality of the sport. And that's really where Ladies AllRide got started. From me not being an athlete to finding myself with mountain biking and wanting, I knew there had to be more women out there who felt like me, who had a sport maybe in high school or college and then didn't have a team sport anymore, and kind of like, what do I do next? I didn't love running.
Hmm.
There weren't that many options for sports. And once I found mountain biking and the lifestyle that goes with mountain biking, I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I want to help more women see that this lifestyle exists for them, where they can discover things about themselves and they can use the mountain bike as a catalyst for growth and change in all areas of their lives.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what I love about your story too is that you didn't know that this was going to be your path. Like you weren't 10 years old, like with your mountain bike ready to start your mountain bike company. Because I mean, you grew up mountain biking though, right?
I mean, I grew up riding bikes, but I was a horse girl. So I had a horse and
Okay.
I rode horses. But I didn't really mountain bike like on single track and still until I started racing in my 20s. So,
Okay.
yeah, I started racing and then I started realizing this sport is very powerful. It's just you and your bike. You are in control of how you face the day on your bike. You're in control of your attitude. There's some pain and suffering involved, climbing steep hills and feeling the burn. And I just became addicted to the reward of the climb that comes with the downhill, and the community of people I met, the camaraderie I started building with other women. There's just something about mountain biking.
Hmm.
And when I would meet other women who would ride, or when I would coach women mountain biking, there's just kind of this like, I see you, like this is a gnarly sport and we understand how powerful it is. And so I really just wanted to help more women bond over bikes.
Yeah, well, and you talk about how you now have a community, but I kind of want to go back to the period of your life where you didn't have a community, and just talk about, because I know that when we talked, you mentioned like how after Survivor you had this huge time in LA and like you kind of like lost yourself even more. So I'm interested in a little bit like how you lost yourself, but then were able to kind of work your way out of that and find this thing that you could kind of latch on to and be like, this is going to be my vehicle for growth.
Yeah, I just think over time I started seeing my true colors through mountain biking. In the early stages of mountain biking, I was intimidated. I was fear based. I threw temper tantrums. I blamed my bike. I blamed my partner. I kind of started seeing myself a little more clearly, and realizing that I had either was slightly traumatizing. It was also very eye opening. How often do you get to see yourself in an adverse situation and look back on how you handled it? And I wasn't proud of the way I handled it. And I feel like the bike and my journey on the bike, the frustration and the pain and the crashes and the, bleeding, and it's not normal. I would go to work when I was still in advertising on Monday after a weekend of racing, and I would wear skirts because I wanted people to see my banged up legs. I was proud of it. And they would look at me like, what is this mountain biking you're doing? This just looks dangerous. But there was something about getting beat up that felt invigorating. It made me feel tough. It made me feel strong. It made me realize that life is going to hurt sometimes. Life isn't always what you think it's going to be. There's going to be pain. There's going to be suffering. There's going to be grief. And because I had such a hard time dealing with all that as the younger me, And then I got into mountain biking and I had to deal with all of that in a different way. I had to deal with the pain and the suffering that was more physical than mental, but my mental attitude that the fact that I loved it made me realize I can change my mental attitude on anything. And it really helped me find who I really am and find peace within myself, knowing what I was capable of on the bike and relating that to my journey in life. So I really feel like the bike illuminated parts of my personality that I wasn't proud of and helped me change them. Because when you're on a bike, you can't be thinking negative thoughts. You can't be thinking, like when I coach, I always tell women, you have to stay in the positive mindset. You can't think thoughts like, I don't want to hit that tree. I don't want to go over that cliff. I don't want to crash into that rock. You have to think positive. I'm going there. I'm doing this. You can't look at the things that you don't want to hit. You can't focus on them. And it really started to teach me I can change my thoughts, because initially I was thinking that way. I don't want to hit that tree. I don't want to hit that rock. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that. And then when I would figure out how to do it and accomplish things, I started realizing that this is possible in life too. If I can change my mindset for the bike, why can't I change my mindset in life? Why can't I change things about myself that I don't like? If I can change the way I ride the bike, if I can get better and stronger and more efficient and more skilled on the bike with practice, patience, and perseverance, why can't I do that in life? And that's really where it all started. Is I thought, I bet there's more people like me out there who are afraid of change, who are unhappy with themselves or deal with mental health issues. And mental health issues can be really confusing because a lot of times people are afraid to talk about them. It has a negative stigma like, oh, you're crazy, you have depression or whatever it is. I felt judged. I definitely had plenty of times, especially in college, where I was starting to realize that I had depression, and I would express that to people in my sorority, and they would look me up and down and say, you have nothing to be sad about. What's your problem? So then I started thinking, there's something wrong with me. What is my problem? I don't know. I don't know why I feel this way. I can't help it. And the bike really showed me that even if I have some wires misfiring in my brain, if I work on those and I change the patterns of my thought process, I can change it permanently. And I have.
Yeah, well, and how do you think like the camps that you've put on? Because I know that you've started to work with young girls as well. So I'm wondering what your goal is with trying to teach young girls this from an early age, because I know that you're talking about when you get to college, when you get to adult life and you have these friends that, or like women, they think they're too old or to jump on the bike. So how do you think that helps that now that you're doing it from a young age?
I mean, our girls program is so much more than riding a bike. I mean, so is our adult program, let's be real. But the girls
Yeah.
program is advertised that we are here to help girls gain confidence in themselves. That is the main issue. That is the main thing we focus on with Girls AllRide. Are all the things that I wish I learned when I was a young girl. Self-love, mindfulness, being present in the moment, focusing on one thing at a time, finding confidence when you don't have it, believing in yourself, realizing your strength and capabilities. Our girls program has nothing to do with competition. It's about skill building so that they can be strong mountain bikers, but it's also about camaraderie, taking care of each other, taking care of yourself, learning how to be strong and independent. We use a book called The Confidence Code for Girls, which every girl should read this book. Every adult should read this book. There's an adult version as well. But the kids version,
Good to
we're
know.
going through this book, The Confidence Code, reading it to these girls. We read little pages at a time in between breaks when they're riding. And we're all choking up going, and we look at these girls and we're like, you don't understand. We wish we learned this at your age. And then we teach them how all these lessons in the book relate to the bike. We're trying to help them see that movement is medicine, that getting outside and getting fresh air and exercise is powerful for the mental health and the physical health. We're trying to make exercise fun, because that's something that I don't think I realized. I was a competitive athlete in my younger years. I didn't just go running for fun. I went running for training, and then when I got into college and didn't have a sport, I was of that generation where jazzercise and step aerobics was becoming a popular thing, but I didn't get it. I would go to these classes and bop around on the step, but I didn't get it. I'm like, where's the competition? Where's the aggressiveness? And I felt like
Yeah.
mountain biking kind of fueled that for me. There's so many choices with mountain biking, and there's so many different disciplines of bikes that you can ride. And so I think the girls program is really focused on helping them see how fun movement can be, but more than just being good for the mental health and the physical health, it also builds community and brings them around like-minded girls. And if I would have known how to find my people when I was younger, because I think I listened to my niece, for instance, who just went to college, and her high school years were horrible. She had mean girls she had to deal with. She didn't feel like she fit in with the girls. She liked boys better than the girls, but then got kind of put down for that. And I remember looking at her one day and saying, this is all going to end. These people aren't going to be in your life forever. You're going to eventually be faced with situations where you get to choose who your people are, who feel good to you to be around. High school, you're kind of just thrown in with the people you're thrown in with. But that's also what our girls program does, is it brings girls from other schools together to our program to bond over this common thing, the bike. So it's showing them your people are out there. They might not be standing right in front of you or sitting next to you in class, but they're out there. And it takes time to understand who your people are. And that's a big part of life, right? Friends come and go. We make friends in our younger years, and then we grow up and maybe they're not our friends anymore. Or we have friends in college and then we move on and we don't ever see them again. And that's just part of life. And so with bringing girls together through something that they have in common that has nothing to do with school, it has something to do with fun and exercise and being outside, is a really powerful thing for these young girls to understand.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that if I had that when I was a kid, I mean, because I was the same. I think a lot of girls when they're young, especially if they're athletes, they think like, yeah, like I'm just gonna hang out with the boys. And I just like never had a solid group of girlfriends until honestly, until like I graduated college. Because like you said, like college was just like for me. I was like I could have done without it. So definitely getting into that next phase and realizing that like there's women out there that are doing really cool things and you can do really cool things with them. So
Totally,
that's
totally.
incredible.
Yeah, and our camps
Yeah.
and our women's program and our girls program, one of the first things I say in my welcome speech is, I didn't feel like I fit in with women, so I wanted to create an environment where you all feel like you fit in here. We want everyone who walks up to our camps to learn mountain biking to feel like, yeah, I belong here. These are my people. And we try to set that tone right from the beginning by welcoming everybody with a welcome speech that says that. We want you to feel safe here. We want you to feel safe to cry, to tell us what you're going through in life, because a lot of times when women are struggling to learn or they're letting fear get in the way, there's more to it than being scared on the bike. They're dealing with something in life, and we want them to feel safe to be able to express that and let us help them work through their fears on the bike and understand that that will also help them work through what they're going through in life. And we're very open about that. We just want to make sure that women feel safe in our environment to be themselves, to be vulnerable. Mountain biking is vulnerable. Learning mountain biking is super vulnerable, especially if you show up to one of our camps and you're in a group with 6 other women you don't know. And you're trying to do something, a wheel lift or pop a wheelie, and maybe everyone else in the group is getting it and you're not. And we try to make that really okay. We actually celebrate if you're not getting it, that you have to be patient with yourself and you can't compare yourself to others, which I think is a huge problem in the world today. Everyone's looking at social media and they're comparing their lives and comparing their looks and themselves, and suicide rates are up and through the roof right now. And we just want to make sure that everybody hears those words. Stop comparing yourself to others. Ride your ride. It's about you and your experience with your bike. If they're getting it faster than you, that doesn't mean you're not as good as them. And there's things that you might not get. And so we try to set up this environment as a place where we're kind to ourselves and we're learning how to be kind to ourselves. Because I don't think we were taught that. I think we were kind of taught to be hard on ourselves, work harder, win, be better. And while we're always striving to be better, or hopefully we're always striving to be better, it doesn't have to have pressure on it. It doesn't have to be a competition, right? And that's what we try to set up with the mountain biking is you want to be better at mountain biking, but it's not going to happen overnight. You have to practice and you have to work at it. And it's the same with life. It's a practice. It's a game. It's something that we have to work at and fail at and flail and fall and get back up and try again. And maybe we try 3 times and we don't get it. We have to be okay walking away from some things, you know? So it blows my mind even just hearing myself talk about how much this sport can emulate life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I told you last time that mountain biking was like the one sport that I'm like, I don't know if I could get into that. Like that and rock climbing simply because of the fear factor. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm too old. I think I might have told you that I went on like a date with a guy and he's a mountain biker and I like fell into the bushes like on the river trail. Like we're on this like no grade super easy bike ride and I'm just like in the back like oh my God, I can't do this, like freaking out, and I like fall into the bush. Um, and I'm like, oh my God. But it was really good for me to, do that. But mountain biking is still a sport that is so intimidating, at least for me. So
Yeah, it can be for sure.
do you find that so you're fostering though a very like communal, environment where like girls can come, they can be afraid, women can come, they can be afraid. What do you have to say to people that like do think they're too old to start something new or do think like, oh, they are comparing themselves and they think, well, they started way sooner than me, like there's no way I can like catch up to them. Like there's that mindset of like, oh, I have to, make up for lost time.
Right. Well, it's funny because I have to just take a photo of this for you. I was just about to post this photo. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, there's a bit of a, no, I don't know why there's a bit of a lag. I can kind of see it.
Oh, really? So she's probably
Yeah,
70. It's a woman who's probably,
I can,
in her mid 60s or 70s. And yeah, I don't know. We try to put it out there on social media that it's for all ages and it doesn't matter. I do have a glare. It doesn't matter how experienced you are on a bike. We're here to meet people where they're at. And I think that's kind of the main message for all ages is we'll meet you where you're at. You don't have to have a ton of experience. And age it's a number, like I had a woman who was 79 in my lesson a couple weeks ago, and she was mixed in with a bunch of 20s and 30-year-olds, and she did awesome. She was kind of our star of the day. And we asked her what her secret is, and she said, just keep moving. And so I think for us, the way that we encourage older women to get into the sport or to not be afraid of it is to tell them the stories of the older women we've come across who do this sport, to show photos of older women doing this sport. I mean, our goal with our marketing is to try and help every walk of life see themselves doing the sport. So I try to post photos of older women, of younger women, of women of color, of all walks of life, so that women of all walks of life see themselves doing it. Because if you see yourself doing it, or you see someone who looks like you, or someone that you feel you relate to doing the thing that you were scared of, it seems a little more possible. And I think that's our job
Hmm.
as far as like social media and marketing goes, is to help more women see themselves doing this and to see that it's possible and to see the why behind it. Because that's, as a coach, I mean, that's my main goal as a coach, is to help them understand the why. Why am I popping a wheelie? I mean, it's fun and all, but why am I doing this? Because it helps you get up a rock. You know, why am I leaning my bike? Because it helps you get around corners. We're helping them see the why of mountain biking because it's powerful. It helps you find strength. It helps you find confidence. It helps you believe in yourself on a different level. And then there's a lot of older women who are like, I just want something fulfilling in my life. I'm retired, or I raised kids, or, you know, I've been working my whole life to get to this point that I'm at now, where I'm retired and I have money and I don't know what to do with myself. So I decided to try mountain biking. We want them to see that that's possible, and to see that mountain biking opens so many doors. I mean, I've been all over this world with my mountain bike, and I've met all kinds of women through my mountain bike. I've been to Dubai and Nepal and France and Italy and Switzerland, and I've met all these women in all these countries who are also seeing the benefits of mountain biking. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, yeah. Do you find that that is no, that is so cool. Is this like through your Ladies All Ride, or and like you're doing camps in all these places, or this was just like solo traveling?
It was for Ladies AllRide. Yep. Running camps, running
Okay,
lessons.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you run camps all over the world.
We do. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I knew that. I thought maybe it was only US based, but that's awesome. So how long has Ladies All Ride been like in motion now?
13 years.
13 years. Okay, so how have you seen it kind of like progress and change in those 13 years?
I mean, I feel like we've kind of just been doing the same thing this whole time. I'm really proud of what we offer. I mean, it's evolved
Yeah.
in small ways. Just running a business, you have to evolve. You know, it's gotten better over time, just understanding how to communicate with participants, how to group participants. I would say that's one of the hardest things, is taking 70 women and reading this survey that we send, that they fill out, that tells us where they're at in their mountain biking journey, and then placing them in a group of 7 people who are at the same level as them and have the same goals as them. That is huge and very challenging. I probably spend 10 hours before each camp obsessing over reading what these women wrote so that I can put them in a group, because they're small groups. Even though we have 70 women at many of our camps, they're only in a group of 7 with 2 coaches, a main coach and an assistant coach. And so I need to make sure that they're in a group where they all jive and they all have the same goals and the same ability levels. And that's really hard. And so over the years, I think I'm really proud of our team and how we've learned to group women in a way that feels pretty flawless. We rarely get it wrong. Every now and then we'll have a few people maybe who could have been in a higher level of a lesson, or maybe shouldn't have been in such a high level. But we work with that. We're experienced enough to know how to toss in a few extra skills to practice for the more advanced people, and how to help the less advanced people feel comfortable with where they're at and not compare themselves. So I think that's how we've evolved over the
Yeah.
years, is we've just gotten better at running events and at catering to these mountain bike women and helping them feel really welcome and giving them the best skill set that we can. You know, I think we're also really good at helping women identify how mountain biking relates to their life. I definitely have a lot of experience with women coming up to me after the camps and saying, I never thought of it this way. I never thought of mountain biking being a metaphor for life until you brought that up. And now my mind is blown at how much this relates to life and how much I just learned about myself this weekend. And that's what we're hoping for. We open the weekend by, you know, my speech really talks about why we do this and how all of us coaches were mountain bikers because it changed our lives. In many cases, it saved our lives. And I think a lot of women are like, oh, wait a minute, this is a powerful sport. I'm scared right now, and I'm hearing that this sport is going to help me be less scared. And I just love the aha moments I see with women, and how many women come up to us at the end of the camp and say, this was way more than I thought it was going to be. I was so nervous to come here and learn mountain biking skills, and now I'm walking away with a whole tool bag of skills for my life. That probably means more to me than hearing that they are stoked that they popped a wheelie. I'm more stoked that they see the bigger picture of what mountain biking can do for them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, mountain biking in turn is like it's a solo journey because it's always like you on your bike. But then, what's beautiful about the camps that you do is that like it's you on your bike, but then you also have people around you. So it's like the solo journey, but like also a communal journey, which is like a metaphor for life in general because like you always have people around you, but like what you're going through is specific to your own life. So finding a space where you can talk about those things and share those things, I think that's just beautiful that you were able to create that space, especially because mountain biking, I don't know, I think of mountain biking, it's like you were saying, like all the advertising you see, like I think of my brother when we were younger going off these huge cliffs with his friends and getting 21 stitches up his leg and like breaking his arm. And that's what I think of when I think of mountain biking.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there's that too.
Yeah.
But honestly, ask me what my worst injury is. I broke my foot dancing. That's been my worst injury in my life.
Okay.
I broke
So
my
not even on a
foot.
bike.
No. I have a lot of scars and
What kind?
weird scars on my arm. You can't really see them, but other than bumps and bruises and some blood, and one time I got stitches and I slowly tipped over onto a rock. And that was why I got stitches, because I opened up my leg in a weird way. But I've been careful. I've been very careful on my mountain biking journey, and I've been doing it a long time. And coaching has definitely helped me gain skills that I didn't have before. But I truly believe that if you mountain bike at a level that feels good for you, and you choose trails that are attainable for you, which means you might have to say no to certain trails. It always frustrates me when people are like, well, I'm never going to be that gnarly. I'm never going to ride that. And you're like, that's okay. I'm never going to ride that either. That's not what it's about. It's about finding the
Yeah.
trails that suit you, finding the trails that feel good for your mountain bike journey. Again, back to comparison, back to thinking you need to be gnarly to be a mountain biker, or you need to ride those steep, crazy lines. Like, no, that's not what it's about. You can come to Bend, Oregon, our hometown, and there's plenty of trails for all levels of riders. And so I'm trying to diffuse the myth that mountain biking is just going to get you hurt. Because if you learn how to do it right and you progress at a pace that feels good for you, I hate when people are like, if you're not bleeding, you're not trying, or if you're not crashing, you're not trying. I try a lot of things, plenty, and I don't crash all the time. I still crash every now and then. I've definitely had my accidents, but I'm also very careful. And so I think that there's a way to get into mountain biking where you don't have to get injured. You just be careful.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's why you're trying to teach everyone skills because not everyone knows the proper way to ride a mountain bike. I would say that if I really wanted to take up mountain bike, you would be the first person I would be headed to.
Well, and that's just it.
But
It's like,
you
it's
can't
not the
bring,
kind of sport that you want to trial and error. I feel like a lot of people are like, I have said to women
yeah.
before, oh, I bumped into your partner on the trail and they said that you're not super into mountain biking. How about a lesson? Oh, I mean, it's just riding a bike, I'm sure I'll be fine. I'm like, it's not just riding a bike. It's much more than just riding a bike. There's roots and rocks and steep terrain and loose terrain and corners, and it's very different. So I think there's a misconception that, well, I mean, I rode a bike as a kid. Why would I need a lesson in how to ride a bike? And I want more people to realize, no, you probably want to try to take a lesson, because that way you'll enter into the sport with good habits and a good understanding of what to do in certain situations. Because if you go in blind and you think it's just riding a bike and you ram into a pile of rocks and go over the bars, that's enough to stop you from riding a mountain bike ever again. But if you have the tools to understand how to handle that rock pile next time you come up to it, you're going to react a little differently to it. You're going to make choices. You're going to understand, oh, that rock might be too big for me to get over. I might have to walk this. But when you don't know, you may just ram right into it and go over the bars. We always tell women, you don't know what you don't know till you know,
I
right?
get, yeah, pretty much. Oh, yeah, that's funny. So do you have, one thing I am excited to talk to you about is do you have any, so I know you have your one book, so I'd love for you to talk about your book. And then do you have any plans to continue with like what we're talking about right now, like safety tips? Because I know this one's etiquette, so why don't you just share about your book?
Yeah, here's the book. Mountain Biking Adventures with
Ah,
Izzy. Etiquette is a big word. Is it backwards? It
no,
looks
no, it's good. It's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's backwards to me.
It looks backwards to you because it's mirroring.
Yeah, totally. Um, I mean, the book came about because honestly, I'm a writer first and foremost. I have a journalism degree. I love writing. And I've written press releases and I write all of our content for our website and our social media. And I've always had this kind of dream to write a book, but I kind of thought maybe it would be the story of my life. I have an interesting story in a lot of ways, but that's also kind of like, I don't know, no one cares. And then a woman from Seattle messaged me during COVID, and she had been following me just on social media, and she said she noticed that there is an influx of mountain bikers and that there was a lack of etiquette. There were lots of families out on the trails during COVID. She was seeing more litter. She was seeing people racing past people who were going slower than them and riding off trail to do it. She was seeing people barreling downhill, not knowing to yield to the uphill riders. And even while there's signs at trailheads these days that have some etiquette advice at some places, she just had this idea that maybe it would be fun to teach trail etiquette through a children's book. And I had to think about it, and I was really honored that she thought of me. She just liked my writing style, I guess, and liked my messaging. So I thought about it for a while, and I was like, etiquette, kids and etiquette. I don't know. I mean, just the word is a big word. And one of my coaches who I was telling this to, she looked at me and she said, that's the title of your book. Etiquette's a big word. I'm like, oh. And once I kind of had the title, because I kind of thought, oh, I might have to not dumb it down. That's a terrible way to say it, but like make it for kids, and that means I have to be really careful with my word choices and they have to be short, small words, and etiquette is a big word. And then I talked to more parents and they're like, you don't have to dumb it down. You don't have to make it less for kids. If the word etiquette's in there, they're going to want to know what that means anyway. So if there's any other words in there they don't know, the parents are just going to explain it to them. And what really resonated with me that I kept going back to was Dr. Seuss. I mean, at any age, Dr. Seuss is fun to read. It flows in a way that you're like, yeah, okay. It gives you a picture in your head of what's going on through rhyme. And so I thought, well, let me try this in rhyme. And I just started playing around with some of the lessons that we wanted to teach and putting them in short sentences to rhyme. And rhyming is it's a whole art in itself. I mean, each sentence has to be about the same amount of
Hmm.
syllables. Each rhyming word has to be in the same place in the sentence. And it became just like this fun word game for me. Taking the lessons that Heidi, the woman who came to me with the book idea, we came up with just a list of lessons that we wanted to put in the book. And then I ended up writing all the lessons in rhyme. And I had so much fun writing it that I was like, well, if I had this much fun writing it, I hope people have this much fun reading it. But that's really how the book came about. It was just kind of a like, okay, let's try this. And I love it. And the reason we titled it Mountain Biking Adventures with Izzy, etiquette is a big word, is because I want Mountain Biking Adventures with Izzy to be the main series. I want it to be a series of life lessons that Izzy, the main character, learns from the bike. based on my own experiences of what I've learned on the bike and based on all the women I meet now and their experiences on what they've learned about themselves on the bike. I thought, what a great series of kids' books to help them see how mountain biking relates to life in a fun, rhyming way. So I definitely have plans to keep going with the book, but I got to figure out how to sell this first one first, because that's the hard part. Nobody wants to
Right.
buy it if they don't know
It
about
did,
it.
that is true, and it did just come out, didn't it? Like this year? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
I don't know what I'm doing. We self-published the book. And so we're like, here, buy the book, buy the book. I don't have a publishing company behind me.
oh,
So figure it out.
that's okay. I'm sure you seem like someone though that is very good at just figuring things out. Like the theme of your story has kind of been like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Like
Yeah.
just it's nice to hear as a young 20-year-old to be reminded that like you didn't plan any of this. Like these things were like you worked hard obviously, but like these were things that came into your life as you progressed one thing through the other, and it was like a series of things. It wasn't just this one thing, and it's so good to hear, and it's so good to hear that it like takes time, like right, because we all want things like that, but it doesn't happen like that. So
I mean, I think that's one of my biggest pieces of advice for the younger generation is I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I liked writing, so I got into advertising and PR, and I kind of followed a writing career. And then when that ended, I could have looked for more PR jobs, but getting on the TV show and then moving to LA, and I ended up marrying a pro mountain biker and was married 15 years and then went through a divorce. There's things that weren't planned. I didn't plan to meet and marry a pro mountain biker. That was random. And then, of course, I didn't plan to get divorced. But all of the things that I've done since my 20s, the advertising job, all the jobs I had in college, when I was my summers between semesters, I painted shoes at Nike because Nike's in Portland. I worked at Adidas. I did some modeling. I was a fit model. Like I just did all these random things that all added up to where I'm at now. They've given me the experiences to understand how to run a company. I've been on the marketing side. I've been on the modeling side. I've been the client. I've been the agency. I just think that my path just kind of unfolded in front of me as I went. And it's like anything, you can choose to go down the left path or you can choose to go down the right path. And there's an element of listening to your head and your heart and what feels good. And I try to tell younger people, if you can find a passion first, whether it be a sport or an art, reading, writing, hiking, mountain biking, if you find a passion, something that you look forward to that fuels you to get out of bed and excites you, keep doing that. And if you can keep doing that and you keep meeting other people who are doing that, you never know where it's going to lead you. Even if you have to have a job that you don't love, but you stick to this passion, you never know when this passion could end, and keep manifesting where you see it going. Because I do feel like in some way I dreamt this up. Even though it wasn't exactly this, I remember when I got on Survivor and they were like, you're going to have all these opportunities, go audition. The auditions were so stupid. Like I was auditioning for like beer commercials, like run to first base and look cute. I'm like, that's not me. I kept saying to people, I want to do some kind of TV show where I'm interviewing mountain bikers or I'm featuring mountain bikers. And while that wasn't exactly where it ended up, I knew I had to do something with mountain biking. I knew I wanted to be a voice for mountain biking. And as my mountain biking evolved, this passion evolved in another direction. Oh, wait, my voice is going to be getting more women into the sport. Now, how do I do that? And honestly, my first motivation was that I couldn't find friends to ride with. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to teach people how to ride. And if I run a company that teaches them to ride and literally invites them to my events, then I'll find friends. And I literally have friends in every
yeah,
state in this country I can go ride mountain bikes with. More than I can count. It's amazing. And those people all have more friends than they can count because of mountain biking. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I guess that just kind of goes to show that like this time period, I feel like like my generation is very lucky in the sense that like if we can't find it, we are in this place where I think we realize we can create it, which I'm not sure was the same in your generation.
Nobody told me I could invent what I do for a living. Nobody. I mean, we were, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I had a dad who, he was a lawyer and he worked for the same law firm from 1973 until last year.
Oh my God.
That's a long time to have one job. And I would say most people of that generation in their 70s had one job. And so that's what we saw. You get a career and that's your career and you climb the ladder in your career. And while that's great for a lot of people, that is the more traditional path. Nobody ever sat me down and said, you can totally invent what you do for a living. You can just make it up and make money. No, I never would have believed them. But honestly, my ex-husband, I have him to thank for this because he invented what he did for a living. He grew up in a bad environment and he knew he wanted to get out of there, and he used racing as a catalyst for growth for himself. He used racing as a way to get his name out there. And then my job when I met him was to market and manage his career and help him turn into an ambassador. He was legitimately one of the first ambassadors for mountain biking who was moving out of racing and moving into being an inspiration for others to get into the sport. And so by managing his career and helping him along the way, I started seeing this is possible for me too. I can invent what I do too. And I want to get more women into this sport. I got to just figure out how. And that was super awesome. So I also think the people who come into your life, if they're doing things that you admire, follow it, watch it, observe it, learn from it, And while we got divorced, that was unfortunate. We got married in our 20s and people grow and evolve. And it was a sad, really hard time in my life. I definitely thought I was not going to make it in life because I was scared to be alone, and I was really sad that we had to get divorced. And it was my bike and the community of women I met through mountain biking who helped lift me up and keep me going and help me realize that I can be independent and I don't need anybody else, but I do need a community that I can trust and I can count on. And that's what mountain biking has given me. And I want more women to have that.
Yeah, for sure. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I think your video just went away. But okay.
Oh
I don't know.
no.
Maybe it's my internet connection today.
You've
But I
frozen a
think
few
that
times.
oh yeah, okay. I think they record locally. Like so yours will be like perfect and mine will be perfect because they record separately, but um anyway, sorry to interrupt that. I just
No,
wanted to
it's
make sure
okay.
that you could still hear me. Um But anyways, I think it is difficult to like to have that though, to have like a family that, that is their path and that is what you see. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this podcast is just be like, no, like you can choose what you do. And there are people out there that like are doing these like cool, hard things that like you can do hard things and you can do the things that you can imagine in your life, but like you have to kind of follow that voice inside your head. You have to follow the path because if you don't, then like you're going to end up on a path that you really don't want to be on.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you have any plans for the future of Ladies AllRide? And I know you have more plans for the book, but do you have anything super exciting coming up that you would like to share?
I mean, our camps run all summer and we open registration in January and they tend to fill up pretty quick, which is such a blessing. And I'm so grateful that our camps have, I think they're being talked about. A lot of people are coming from word of mouth. I definitely have this fear that social media is going to overpower our company because I am not trying to be a coach on social media, and I am not that interested in putting myself out there very much on social media because it's just, I don't know, I'm almost 50. It just doesn't feel good for me to try to hustle on social media. And so I've been living in this little kind of weird world of, am I going to lose our reputation if I'm not cool on social media? I mean, I'm in it with all of you. We're all looking at social media, comparing ourselves. I say don't do it, and I do it. Um, but honestly,
Yeah.
I'm trying to just focus on the product that we serve, that we give women. And I think we have a really strong product. And the more we do it, the better we get at it. And the more experience we have, the better we coach. So my plan is to just keep doing it as long as I can, as long as my body can keep doing it. I just want to keep making them better. I want to keep growing and traveling to different areas. We'd like to go global again. COVID kind of stopped us from traveling. And so we have plans to take it overseas again. Some of the overseas camps have been the most powerful experiences of my life. When I went to Nepal, we were coaching women who are told they can't bike because that's what boys do, that they need to get ready to start a family, and they're being told these things at 13 years old. And our main mission for going in and inviting a lot of these women to learn mountain biking was to kind of inadvertently preach to them look how independent and strong you are. Look how that you make choices on what you want to ride on your bike and how you want to handle your bike. You can do that in life too. You actually don't have to do what people are telling you have to do. And they didn't know this. A lot of them had to hide it from their parents that they were coming to learn mountain biking. There was a girl who helped us coach who had been mountain biking and started racing, and she hides it from her parents because they're so against it because it's a boys' sport. So I feel like places like Nepal, bikes can really empower them on a totally different level than we can even imagine. It can help these women see they don't have to get married in their teens and have kids and start families. They can be strong and independent and get jobs. And we're teaching them all this through the bike. And, my friend Julie runs World Ride. You should talk to her for sure. And she goes all over the world. And they were just in Guatemala kind of doing the same thing, helping these women realize they have choices and they can have freedom from the bike. The bike helps give them freedom when they can't drive. So yeah, I mean, I just want to continue to be a voice for mountain biking and a voice encouraging more women to get involved. And however I need to evolve to do that, I will, but I don't want to be a social media star. So that's off the table. Let's find
Oh
another
man.
way.
Oh my God, if I could throw my phone away and throw social media out the window, I totally would. Totally would.
I think everybody feels that way these days, but then there's this like part of you that's like, but I need to know what's going on because a lot of people are doing what we do and we have to stay on top of the game and we have to stay in people's minds and remind them we're still here. So it's all just part of
Yeah, but
life.
I mean, but do you run your social media or does someone else run it?
I run it. I run it. I have a woman who helps
Oh,
me
okay.
do sponsor stuff because I can't keep track. We are so lucky to have 20 some sponsors and they all have requirements and I'm running around too much to keep track of it all. So I have someone helping me like, we have to do a post with this sponsor. Don't forget to do a post with this sponsor. And she gets on there and helps me with
Mm,
stories and stuff. But social media for me has always come from my heart. It's not something I have ever planned ahead on. I don't have a calendar of that's planned out. I post what I feel like posting at the moment. I try to stay consistent, but if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to post. But when it comes from your
mhm.
heart, I can't have someone else running that because it's really me. It's my voice. And even though my account is also Ladies AllRide business account, I started it so long ago and I started it with my name attached to it because I wanted women to see Ladies AllRide. The name actually means ladies should all ride bikes. And I want them to all come ride with me. And that was kind of what I first thought of Ladies AllRide as. And so I kept my name on there because I wanted people to have a human on the other side of this company to relate to. I wanted them to hear my story of why I started Ladies AllRide, so that I'm not just a brand. We're humans who are doing this from our hearts. My social media now says Lindsey and team, because I want people to know it's not just me. I have a whole team running this for me. But I still want them to have someone on the other end to connect with and relate to, and to feel safe coming to our camps. And so it is still me, and one day that may change, but I feel so deeply that the messages I put out there are heartfelt and real and authentic and not contrived and not planned ahead. And so I just can't give it up to someone else.
No, I think that's great. I think I absolutely love that because I'm the same way. I mean, I don't plan anything. I am in the moment, same thing. Like if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. Like I should not have to, like post all the time just to get my brand out there. So I respect that so much, and I feel like the people that you want to come to you, like those, they're gonna respect that, right? Like they're not gonna be like, oh, this, she's not active enough for me, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, totally. And I do think people might think I don't run it, but it's me. It's me, good old 48-year-old
No,
year
I
old
love.
trying to run my social media going, what? What's a hashtag? How do I do this? How do hashtags work? I'm constantly calling the millennials like, it won't, nothing, it's not working.
Oh my God. Well, are you guys on Instagram or just on Instagram, or are you on other social media platforms as
Oh, we're
well?
on Instagram. I kind of forget about Facebook. We're on Facebook, obviously, because that was the first one. I did join
Ah,
TikTok because I just thought maybe that's a younger audience. It's a different audience, and I don't post that much on it because I get on TikTok and I'm like, oh my God, I can't handle this. It's too much information. It's too much coming at me at once.
yeah.
But yeah, we're on TikTok just with teachables. I just post teachables and crashes and stuff that I think the TikTok audience will find very amusing. But I just don't put too much stake in social media. I really am trying to utilize our camps as a way to speak to people in
Mhm.
hopes that they're going to tell other people about our camps, and they're going to invite 10 friends, and then those 10 friends are going to invite 10 friends. And so far that's really
Yeah.
how we've gotten out there, is people talk about us when they leave our camps. And that to me means more than likes and followers on social media. The fact that people are having life-changing experiences and overcoming fears and learning about themselves through the bike means more than any amount of likes or followers, whatever could ever mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's how it should be. So that's good. Um, well, I want to be respectful of your time and your evening. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I will, make sure to put your name and everything in the show notes. I'm gonna pause the recording.